About 4 months ago.
Oh, good, good.
Yeah.
And your mantra every day, yes?
Yes.
Every waking moment.
Oh, no, not every waking moment. No.
Yeah, that's like when Maharaj talks about like constant, continuous devotion
Uh-huh.
and striving to know your selfless self, mantra in every moment through every experience. And
You mean
because
like
the mantra will allow the mind, go ahead.
I'm sorry. You mean using it as japa and repeating it like japa, like silently?
Yeah, in the mind, have the mantra run through the mind. You can do with breath or without breath, whatever, but the concentration, in, out mantra. Because what the mantra will do is you'll begin mantraing through these various experiences without creating an experiencer that is experiencing something. And you'll be able to go through the other side of this, seeing that there was no footprint in mind, that you just went through this, and you'll begin to see this non-doership and remaining with your selfless self. Because when you're one with the mantra, you can't appear to be separated, even in other form.
Huh. Well, I would like to experience that. I have not, yet, but I would like to get to the point where I do experience that. How long was it for you, or how did it happen for you? How did that experience blossom for you and other people?
For myself, right after taking mantra from Maharaj, he put his hand on my head, he whispered that mantra in my ear, and I had already known that Maharaj was that selfless self in form.
See, I haven't met him in person. I've only corresponded with him, and I've talked with him, and I FaceTimed with him.
Okay.
But I've not met him in person. Maybe that's a critical.
Well, no, I mean, the idea is, number one, master is formless and you are formless, and it's just a formality to have two forms together. The idea is that Maharaj is that selfless self, is your own self in form, giving you the words that will release you from this idea you have about being in bondage through these thoughts and this idea of a my mind. And for my own self, as you asked, it was in that moment, right afterwards, I began just in mantra, mantra, mantra. I was very blessed because I got food poisoning right after that. And I was throwing up and had died. I mean, I was really getting really, really sick. But that was my opportunity, as we all have opportunities throughout our waking moments, to do mantra and to dive deep into mantra and not pay attention to the sickness, not pay attention to what was going on. Dive deep into mantra. Even as Maharaj was taking me to the hospital, dive deep into mantra. And then seeing that in this, quote, troubling experience, no experiencer was created, therefore no experience, and it went through beautifully, where mantra was seen that when the mind is kept busy with mantra, it can't comment on what's going on outside. And without a commenter, without an I am somebody else, without a flow of thoughts identified with as my mind, absolutely no experiencing is occurring. There is no credit, nor is there any debit taken for any experience.
That's wonderful.
This is the truth. You've been given a mantra that is going to, you, the selfless self, are going to be able to peel this idea of Jim away. You're going to be able to, as Maharaj says, slowly, silently, and permanently erase all this body knowledge, all this nonsense that when you were born, you suddenly realized you were separate of some sort and believed you had to do all these things, and thereby started gaining and trying to gain body knowledge, trying to gain things for this body, trying to please your parents that you believed were separate from yourself, and go around in a world that you knew nothing of. And yet, you're going to see this. Once you start erasing all these ideas about yourself through mantra, that's why every experience, right now, once this video is off, and in that moment, just mantra, because you, the selfless self, are always creating things in your experience where you will use mantra. Do you have complete trust and faith in the master that is your own self that gave you this mantra to erase these ideas and these concepts and live free as your selfless self without any concept of freedom?
Has that been, is that experience one that other people share, or do you, I mean, I've been in a lot of spiritual groups, and generally people are seeking, they're not finding. But it seems like this group, a lot of people have actually found what they're looking for. Is that accurate? Or
yeah.
Has that been true for other people?
Yes, it's true for me.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, I'm most of the way. I don't know. I've actually had experiences prior to this of absolutely knowing that there's no personal person. The total, there's something called the spontaneous conviction, and that is something that Maharaj teaches comes after this continuous, mantra, and so that I haven't totally got there, but I do know from my own experience that it's true that there's nobody here. There's just a form.
Yeah, the idea is to stabilize in this. For this spontaneous conviction, the mantra will allow you to have these glimpses, and you will stabilize in this because you are that. And so all these ideas and concepts and beliefs that are added are the only thing that are separating you from yourself, and it's only an appearance, these thoughts. Mantra erases this, so you won't have that steady idea of yourself. Also, Maharaj talks about the bhajans. Bhajans create a vibration that will kind of vibrate this body sense so that you're not so hung up on that. But through mantra and walking through the experience through mantra, seeing that no experiencer has created no comment about it, so no experience in mind and memory, no additional concepts are added. Every time anything comes up and it sort of turns up the heat and you start to feel this pull for personalized of something, you mantra through it, and you'll see that this idea of an I am somebody else did not need to form. So you remain formless. Remaining formless is just in your prior to being this state. Prior to being this, being prior to the ideas and beliefs and all these concepts you're holding about yourself that are appearing to separate you. The stabilizing, all we're doing is, and then Maharaj says many, many times, inviting the attention of the invisible listener, that you are, that selfless self, which from that point of seeing, from here, sees this and knows that this seeing is on the screen of mind and this is prior to mind. This seeing is written and engraved, as Maharaj says, on the screen of mind. So you're prior to this. And then this will be seen. That's that spontaneous conviction, that glimpse into the way that the seeing is when there's no idea of this seer in form. Because this seer sees the form and all the other forms and intuitively understands that all of this is appearing on spontaneous presence, as Maharaj says many, many times. The idea is that everything came out of nothing and everything dissolves within nothing. And in between, there appears to be something. There appears to be a John and a Jim and a Kathleen and a Mary and an Andrew. There appears to be this appearance. But all of this is just in between. And just like going to sleep at night and waking up in the morning, in between there appeared a whole dream world and all these people and all this stuff. But in waking up on the other side, it's all finished. In the same terms, this is a long dream. Mantra will allow you to see this.
So does I mean, if everything, if what the I is experiencing is inclusive of other people, quote unquote, then the question that I ask myself is, what is their experience?
Well, there are no others. It's only your own self. Different points of view from different forms that you believe are separating, but it's all one. So there is no other.
Right.
And there is no other experience. The idea is that you won't experience, through mantra, you won't form an I am somebody else. Therefore, if there's not an I am somebody else, there can't be other. It will be just different forms, and there will be an intuitive knowing that as you're speaking, speaker and listener are one and the same. There is no other. There's no, just a bunch of forms and with selfless self moving them around and ideas and beliefs that selfless self holds. It's sort of, again, like the one-man show. I think we talked about that a couple of weeks ago. It's just, here there's a speaking, and then over here there's a listening, boom, then it's a speaking and a listening, but it's just, there are no others.
So there is nobody else.
No, it's just the one selfless self. There's no you. This you that you believe yourself to be is a concept that selfless self is seeing through and using this body instrument in form to perform activities and such. But with the mantra, you'll erase these concepts so there won't be an I am somebody else. And if you just remain in your you are, that sense of presence, that sense of being, whatever you want to call it, if you remain there without labeling it and without an I am somebody else being created due to thoughts that are identified with as I am somebody else, having these thoughts, this is my life, there won't be other, because there's not a you. You maintain yourself formlessly, spontaneously, in the formless state before a form of an idea or a thought arises. And once mantra has continued and continued and continued, you'll be able to observe the arising of a thought and mantra through that without an I am somebody else identifying with that thought.
I see. So mantra is the main vehicle, that the main catalyst.
Absolutely. Because you'll be one with your selfless self through mantra. You're inviting the attention of the invisible listener. I'd also recommend bhajans, because mantra will stir up a lot of things, as Maharaj says. You're stirring the pot or shaking the tenants out of, you're evicting the tenants. So a lot of things will stir up. If you do bhajans and continue also listening to the videos and hang around, with other like-minded folks in the speaking, so that, see, the whole idea is the listener and the speaker are one and the same, and there's a recognition in the projection that it's fact.
Question about the bhajans. So I was in a group that did a lot of kirtan. Does he specifically, I know that he has, that I've seen the bhajans that he's got on the web, and but do any bhajans work? Any devotional?
I believe, yeah, Maharaj, somebody asked him that question when he was here in the States, and he said, any bhajans, that is going to bring happiness. We have our lineage bhajans, those I listen to 3 times a day. I don't sing them, I just listen to them, but it creates that vibration.
Yeah.
Any bhajan, the idea is to invite the attention of the invisible listener. Once that's all you can do using this form. once the invisible listener is invited, you see there's attention, it's drawn, and it's seen that, oh, I can use this form, but I'm not this form. And the release of the stranglehold on the beingness, because you no longer have to strive to survive in what you believe when it terminates, you're finished. You will see this intuitively, and then you will no longer have this need to strive to survive. Let's see. It says, have you read Selfless Self? Jim Maharaj may be back in the U.S. next summer.
Yes,
Actually, I think he's going to France next summer.
Yes, yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. But have you read Selfless Self?
I have, yes.
Good.
Yeah, I loved it. I loved it.
Good, good, good. Because that presence that you feel in there is your own self. Like Maharaj says, the recognition in the projection. It's your story.
Uh-huh.
Intuitively, this will be known. We also have the USA talks that are, and also there's, I don't know if you're familiar with ramakantmaharaj.cf.
Yes, I am.
That's a very wonderful area where you can go and listen to the master speaking, and at the same time have the transcripts and everything there. So
yes, I have seen that. Sometimes I have trouble understanding. It's gotten better. I think they're using a new microphone now, but
yes,
but that is wonderful.
Well, and that's why they have the MP3, but they also have the transcript there.
Yeah.
You know, they'll do that. So, and all of the videos on Ramakant Maharaj USA are captioned.
Even in other languages too.
Yeah, it's in Spanish right now, the captions, and working on the French because of the whole French coming up thing. If they decide to do that, I don't know. I offered to put the captions on.
Well, I appreciate that you're doing what you're doing and making this possible, because it's you're the first. I mean, this is the first group that I've participated with, and it's really helpful to have to be able to ask questions and interact, and listen to ways that other people are putting in practices.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So thank you all for that.
Yeah, it's a good group. We meet every Tuesday, pretty much.
Every week. Yeah. So I'm curious how other people have, other people's experience. My experience is pretty short, but it seems like people have been profoundly affected by this teaching.
Yes.
Well, I can tell you that the mantra does work, and this is my experience. And what I usually do, for instance, in the morning, I do the mantra for around an hour and a half, 2 hours. I do it throughout the day as well, but oftentimes I'm occupied talking to people and so forth. Yeah. So it's not as it's not as focused sometimes. But I do the mantra, and for instance, the image of Sri Ramakant comes to mind all the time. There's a photo that I got from him from a fellow by the name of Charles and Ann, the ones who put together the book Selfless Self.
I know who they are,
yeah. Yeah, he's it's Sri Ramakant Maharaj when he was younger. He's sitting in sort of like a meditative posture, and that image just keeps coming to mind. And it's just basically, there's one comment that I read in Master Self-Realization: bring nothing to mind. So it's just doing the mantra without bringing anything to mind, and there are those moments of formlessness. There's just nothing. And I haven't stabilized in that, but I do get those glimpses of just the formless, just nothing. And it's really a pleasure. I used to do a lot of thinking and reading and so forth, and now I find myself, and I still do read. In fact, I got a book about maybe a half a year ago or so. Bhagwat, which is the book that Sri Ramakant used. It's Eknath Bhagwat, who was a disciple of Janadana. And so I read that at night. It's almost like a Bible. It's like 1,000 pages long. And I just read a little bit. It's just kind of like put the right thoughts in mind before going to bed. But the thought, just the idea of bringing nothing to mind, I don't know, for some reason that just sticks with me. And basically that's all that because it's all that can be done. And ultimately, I mean, there's a certain formation or foundation that's got to be created by reading and, listening to talks and so forth. But ultimately, I find myself coming to the point where you can't bring anything to mind because it's just not true. It's just, it's just bringing nothing to mind. And that the mantra, it helps to center that. So that's my experience.
The question came up to me today about the mind and how in this practice, how the mind is so the mind doesn't become quote unquote controlled or mastered in the sense of being able to pick and choose thoughts that come through it, but does it become less prone to identification? Is that what happens over time?
Well, I mean, there's no mind at all. You'll see this. Mind is, like Maharaj says, a collection of thoughts identified with as my thoughts create my mind.
Yeah.
The truth is that it's just thoughts flowing. And if mantra is continued, then there's not an I am somebody else that can draw attention to these thoughts. And these various thoughts are continuing to see and poke, like Maharaj says, prick from the backside to see what you're still holding on to, ideas and beliefs about yourself. You, the selfless self, these thoughts are flowing so that you can see and release and use mantra. And the more personalized the thoughts are, the more in that area you're still holding on to, I am somebody else. But there is no mind at all.
I think I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, the screen of mind is basically from this perceiving, intuitive seeing, engraved on the screen of mind. You could say the mind is the movie theater. We talked about this last week. Mind is the movie theater, and all the people in the row watching the show are the beingness, and you, the selfless self, are the projector.
Right. I guess we all want a happier movie, right?
Yeah, but this is because the movie is the movie. The movie is, you're the projector. And truly, the projector is just providing the lights and the movement. And then you have the beingness, which what you're talking about, mind, my mind, it's just a bunch of flashing images on the screen. But the beingness uses this idea of my mind to create a story and to piece together what these lights and this images and the movement and the sound, what it's doing. So it's like when you go in a drive-in movie theater and you hold your headphones up and it's somehow interpreting these flashing images on my mind with this beingness, and here the selfless self is just projecting. Ramana Maharshi says whether the screen is on fire or wet or whatever, the people in the audience have nothing to say about it. They're not in terror when, they may feel some feeling, horror movies and such, but there's no connection other than there's an interpretation, there's a viewing of this movie. And when the beingness is seen as not needed, if the whole movie theater burned down, these guys in the row and the screen caught on fire and burned away, you, the selfless self that's projecting, would just project. And without needing the beingness nor the screen.
Okay, so so there's selfless self, which ultimately doesn't need anything. It it's perfect, eternal, and unexperienceable. Okay, so there's that, and that nothing needs to change with that because it already is, will be, and spiritual practice has no effect on that. So spiritual practice would impact the experience through the mind.
Just clearing away and discarding.
I'm sorry?
Just clearing away and discarding. Maharaj talks about the fire and the ash over the fire. You can't see the fire burning because of the ash. The ash are the thoughts, the I am somebody else, and all the concepts and belief you're holding about yourself. Mantra just clears it. It's the electric broom, as Maharaj says, just sweeping.
Okay.
It sweeps all of the ideas and beliefs that are untrue. The only thing that can remain is the truth. And the truth is the selfless self without any ideas or concepts, belief about yourself. You are formless, using form, in a world that's all projected from yourself. The example of dream is beautiful. When you're laying down sleeping, it's one person, you, sleeping, and the entire dream world is projected. And you're even a character in your own dream who realizes that you're the dreamer, but can still react and act and go about in the dream. Yet when you are the real person, wake up, the dream is gone. There's no dream people, there's no dream world, there's no dream nothing. It's just nothing, except you, the dreamer, who for a time truly believed the dream and believed that they were one of the characters in the dream, and not as a dreamer, but actually as a character performing functions. Mm-hmm. But in reality, the dreamer is controlling the entire dream, and the dream characters have no, how can they have anything?
Mm-hmm. But the whole reason to be drawn to the search or spiritual practice would have to be to, oh, did something happen? Are you still there?
I'm still here.
Oh, okay.
Kathleen's still here, Andrew, Mary.
I think Anon just joined the call. I think that's what that was.
Oh, okay. All right.
Hello.
Hello, Anon.
Hello, hello.
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 Hello, everybody.
So there has to be an expectation that something would change that would that would be beneficial in some way. And
in order to be beneficial, you'd have to have someone or an entity that's benefiting. There is no benefit. As a matter of fact, like Nisargadatta Maharaj says, don't undergo this if you're looking for benefit, because this will erase your entire world.
Right, right.
And the world is false anyway. And this is seen through mantra. And see, all of this is speculating in the mind. How's this going to happen? How's this going to be? The truth is, mantra slowly, silently, and permanently erases all the ideas, all the beliefs, all the concepts that you're holding on to, and will stir more, like Nisargadatta Maharaj says about evicting the tenants. And Ramakant Maharaj talks about positive and negative spiritual experiences using mantra. All of these will be brushed away, brushed away, brushed away. You just keep sweeping. Door opens, more leaves fly in, you keep sweeping.
I see.
Because otherwise, in the speaking, I think it was Nisargadatta Maharaj who says that if every word creates a world and then a belief in that world that you've created, this is not, that's why mantra allows you to erase the concepts without adding any additional concepts, without having to try to figure out something. Mind is desiring this figuring out. But the idea is no figuring out. Like Ramakant Maharaj says, all these masters on the wall, none of them really had super high educations. They just trusted their master completely and fully. It's only when intellectualize and try to think about how this is or how that is, or like Ramakant Maharaj says, you know, analyzing the words of the master and saying, this is this, or how it compares to Ramana Maharshi, or how it compares to Siddha Mishra Maharaj. The idea is that this mantra allows these concepts, these ideas, and these beliefs to be erased so that you can see cleanly and clearly without this blockage, which you currently call Jim.
Yeah, yeah.
And I currently call John, just to be, not to be rude. I know what you say, this blockage called Jim. All of us are believing in this blockage that is the stain on the glasses of selfless self.
Instead of the stain on the glass of selfless self, Ranjit Maharaj used to say, the boil on your body that's got a glands.
Exactly. Exactly.
Oh dear.
Yeah, the fever, like Nisargadatta Maharaj says, the fever that has appeared on selfless self, on that, and is buzzing, needing attention. Because the attention, once the attention is seen from selfless self, as that is something that is not needed, it's discarded. And then yet, you are still able to use this body. See, with mantra, you will have nothing here. There's nothing here. There's no idea that I'm in a form. There's just this seeing, and in every moment, spontaneously arising, some doing and some happening is happening, but there's no longer a you in it. There's no concept of something behind here, that self-consciousness of how you look, how you sound, what you're doing, and how other people, quote, are seeing you. It's just seeing. There's no concept of anything here. This body has been shaken apart so that it can be used, but you remain formless, using form for what needs to be done in the moment without creating an I am somebody else, without going in the past to memory or in the future to desires or expectations. The mantra allows you to see this cleanly and clearly.
Is that, are you speaking from your own experience?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, John, tell him the story about the no next, how you're going for this pacemaker and you're just going, you know, step by step, and your mind wants to figure out what's going to happen next, and you realize there's no next.
Yes, that's on the way to get a pacemaker, and I was on the metro, and anytime the mind wanted to arise with a next, you know, like what's going to happen when we get to the hospital, or what's this pacemaker or anything, no, there's no next. See, next is absolutely illusion, because you're just here. Anything that the mind can think about or try to project, there's no next. It can't be a next. It can't be the actual experience of a next. It's just here. So as the mind starts to go out to create a next, you mantra through that experience. And literally, as both in the hospital in India, in the cab ride in India late at night, and in this pacemaker, it is mantra, mantra, mantra. And these experience is happening, but there's no one experiencing it. There is no next. It's just, okay, we're putting IV. But the mind doesn't say IV, that must be closer to this. Or they start to shave your chest. Oh, there's no closer to this. It's literally just flowing through with mantra, with absolutely no next. You're just here now. And there's no fear. There's no nothing. You're just here, formlessly, having surgery done. Because the idea is that when the mind starts to move and create an I am somebody else that's experiencing this, it will begin to create the experience of what's going to happen. And then you will begin to live this mind creation as if it is reality. Your blood pressure will go up, your pulse will go up, you'll be sweating, and you'll be feeling like you're living in this false reality that your mind is creating and that you're believing in. And you, the dreamer, are projecting all of this. Don't do that.
Hmm. That's a pretty radical shift.
It's the reality without any ideas or beliefs you're holding about yourself. It's the reality. That's why Maharaj says you must have courage to accept the reality. And the courage comes spontaneously with faith and devotion and trust in the master, in your own selfless self. Master is formless. Don't think of master in form, and you're not in form either. There can be no separation. Like Maharaj talks about, the space in the bathroom and the space in the ashram. If the walls fall, does the space in the ashram go to hell? Or go to heaven, and the space in the toilet go to hell? No, it's just space. And this is seen. From Keith. As for the question, I brought my reading glasses this time so we can actually see what's going on. As for the question about whether identification drops away, I would say that fits. One thing I don't understand is what sense control has a part. Is it that stuff is formed in limited ways and will follow in accord? Control is absolutely an illusion. There's no control over anything other than how you're responding spontaneously in this moment. There's no, to control something, you would need, number one, an I am somebody else. So you'd have to take a form and then a desire. You would have to follow that desire that is desiring some outcome of some situation, and you are very lost away from your selfless self. Anytime these ideas come, if there's no I am somebody else, there can't be a sense of control because it's just formless. How can a formless sense of yourself have control? It wouldn't make sense to you. As Maharaj says, good thoughts and bad thoughts are coming. You ignore the bad thoughts. You look and if a good thought, again, I'm thirsty. Thought comes, I would like to have a drink. It goes to intellect and says, okay, make an action through ego, have a drink. It's put down. There's no memory and there's no need to think about any of that. It's just one spontaneous occurrence.
Something formless can't think, can't feel, can't experience. It's just nothing.
Well, it can use all those instruments without being attached to them or without identifying with them. The formless sense of yourself can use this body, and with this body comes mind, ego, intellect. They can be used, but like Maharaj says, only sparingly, as needed, and then dropped. Mind is needed for some calculation, used just like the water, and then drop. There's no psychological sense of you because there's not an I am somebody else being created. You remain, again, nothing is here. There's no idea that anything's here. It's just this seeing. There's nothing. So, and there's no idea of a separate somebody. So when you're speaking, there won't be any self-consciousness at all in any situation. And if there does arise some sense of self-consciousness, that's when mantra will erase that idea. Anand, could you take your phone off speaker or do something? It's all these gurgling noises and such.
Sorry about that. Yeah,
It's okay. Thank you, thank you.
Yeah, we can hear you pouring your drink.
Yeah.
No, it's my water.
Good. But yeah, if you could just take yourself off speaker, that would be great.
No, I try to put my speaker off and on. But you know, it gives you a flavor of being alive.
Somebody there. Nobody.
No, I've noticed in the sound recordings that it always gets that kind of gurgling and it makes the staticky thing because the microphone is trying to pick up different various noises. So
yeah.
It would be
and
helpful.
We have the storm coming today. The Maria is off the shore.
Oh, you didn't have any damage, I hope.
No. It's going to be about 30, 40 miles an hour around our area. But hopefully we won't. We'll find out tonight and tomorrow.
Oh.
We're kind of blowing real hard.
Where are you?
I'm in the Norfolk area.
Oh, okay.
Near Hatteras and Outer Banks. And
Are most of you in the Washington or the East Coast?
No, Andrew's in Sedona, Arizona.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, pretty far away from the hurricanes.
That was you, Andrew.
Nobody's in Puerto Rico, or they wouldn't be on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, indeed.
So, John, when you said that the using of like a particular thought, who does that? If there's no individuality to use something, it just happens spontaneously, I presume, right? There's a using that happens rather than someone using a thought. That's, like behind it all is, I said previously that what is formless cannot think, cannot feel, cannot experience because it's formless. It's nothing.
But if you use the body form, which then comes along with mind, ego, intellect, it is you, your selfless self. You're just not identifying, but you're using those as instruments. They come along with the body. You're just no longer believing that they're yours or that you are the one.
Okay.
And also, your thoughts won't be, as a formless you, again, there's no other. There's not any kind of selfish thoughts. All the thoughts and all the activities are selfless because you're just interacting with your own self in various forms. This is just known. There's no longer a John and Andrew has separate thoughts from John. There's just a speaking and listening and a flow. And that's that sense of presence that can be recognized in the projection of just flowing back and forth. Because it's everywhere, but there's a recognition in the projection that this form and this form are one and the same. My presence is in every being. And you'll see this too many times, the recognition and the projection through the eyes of the human form in another human form. There will be that very strong pull of presence to presence, the recognition and the projection. That's a progressive step. But as what you're thinking about, a selfless self using a mind in a particular way, there isn't an identity for that. Using mind is like thinking or planning something. Monday, I need to be at such and such a place. But there's no projecting into that Monday of how I'm getting there, what the driver is, or will there be traffic, or any of this kind of stuff. It's just, okay, Monday, I'm going to be here. Just like Maharaj says, do your job, do your duties. Whatever's in front of you, your focus and attention is in that 100% using this body instrument to perform the duties that are needed in the moment. Going back to Arjuna and Krishna, where the battlefield, Krishna says to Arjuna, go out and do the battle. The battle is going to happen. Just don't sit there and think you're some great warrior doing battle. Just do your duty. Do what's right in front of you, which is all you can really do. It's only the mind that creates this whole scene and this whole story. Without the use of mind, other than as a mechanical thing, you're not having these you're not having this, oh, this is happening or this is going on. And if it does, then mantra. Because the only reason that something is happening is because you're no longer one with your selfless self. And you are one with the mantra, you are one with your selfless self, therefore you're not dividing your attention because all of you is focused 100% on your own self. Then the scenes can come and go, as they do. But there's no you in it.
So there's a choice that's made, for instance, to act on a particular thought, for instance, like prepare this particular thing for today, or whatever. But there's no personality, no individuality involved with it. It's just simply...
just a duty.
Just a duty, okay.
Just like, it was talking, your spiritual duty of being here and speaking and being honest and asking the questions or somehow being here with your own self, that's just a spiritual duty. No egoic sense of self is taken. And if it is, then suffering will have to come, because if an egoistic sense is taken, I am somebody else, like Maharaj says, the desire for fame, publicity, money, sex, these are the things that you, the selfless self, are kind of bringing to see the attention and the ideas and beliefs you may still be holding about yourself, and the fact that you didn't trust Master in this, because Master is either all and everything. There can't be a little part that you're holding on to for yourself. When there is, then an I am somebody else will be created, and a desire will be desired until it either ends in, as you'll see, the pain and pleasure principle. With mantra, all of these are getting to be erased because you have full faith and trust in the Master, your own selfless self, that mantra and remaining with your selfless self rather than allowing the attention to go out into this world that's very seemingly real that you may wish to acquire something from. The world is empty. You provide all the activities, all the stories, all the everything for it. And when you're one with your selfless self, you won't be doing that. You'll be moving about, whatever's in front of you, different scenes will come. Here you are on the, in this specific moment on the car, in the car, and then now you're at work and you're doing whatever, and then you leave work and there's no thoughts about work or doing anything unless, like, your phone happens to say, oh, you need to call so-and-so, then you call so-and-so. But it's not like you're thinking, oh, all the work and all this. And it's not that you're lazy. You're doing your job, you're doing your duties, but you're being in the reality. You're not carrying all these stories, all this extra weight of I am somebody else and what needs to happen. That's the reality. Because if it wasn't the reality, you couldn't have it. You know what I'm saying? It couldn't be just another mind-created thing because it wouldn't be a constant. That is the only constant, your selfless self.
John, when you're repeating the mantra, are you repeating, when you're silently repeating the mantra, are you thinking of the meaning of the mantra? Or I think somebody asked this in the book, and I can't remember what the answer was. Are you thinking of the meaning, or are you concentrating on the sound? Or, I mean, how do people...
Different times, different ways. Sometimes it would be breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out, just walking down the street. It's constantly running. So the idea is it's running in the background all the time, and then it'll come to the foreground when something when there's an I am somebody else that believes they're doing a mantra. Because somehow, in order for you to believe you're doing a mantra, you had to separate from your selfless self through the idea that there's someone who can do a mantra. But if it's running in the background all the time, then that becomes the background to all the experience. You remain with your selfless self. When attention is beginning to be drawn out for whatever reason, then the mantra comes to the foreground and you continue to recite in mind. Sometimes with breath, sometimes not. Just however it happens to be. It's running all the time, especially as you're doing it in the beginning, going to sleep at night. Mantra, And as Maharaj says, throughout the night, you, the selfless self that does not sleep, will be continuing this mantra.
Is this happening spontaneously?
It will. In the beginning, you have to have a deliberate effort. You know, in the beginning, I would say, because I in my own experience, I did not just sit and say, okay, I'm dedicating 2 hours to I just mantra, because like I said, it was very blessing right into food poisoning. So the mantra was able to be used like immediately. And when I went to India, I had long beard and long hair and Rudraksh beads and all this kind of stuff. And in doing mantra, observed getting up, going, getting shaved, hair cut, beard gone, taking off the beads. These occur with absolute devotion. You have to have the absolute devotion and understanding that you, the selfless self, came to yourself through another form called Sri Ramakant Maharaj, who gave you this mantra to eliminate the ideas and beliefs that that selfless self knows it's holding in that other form. You are not the name that your parents gave to you. You have never done anything at all. You've used a form and gone through some things. This mind-created sense of self is not true. And mantra allows you to return to your original nature. As Maharaj says, refreshing your memories. Because the memory is the reverse. You have none. All the memories you're holding about yourself are absolutely false. And you need to discard, 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 discard. And eventually, when the attention is invited of the invisible listener, that invisible listener will intuitively see that this form on the screen of mind is not needed to perpetuate existence. That just like scenes can come and go, just like dreams can come and go, just like people can come and go, beingness and worlds can come and go, and it has no effect on the one that was there prior to beingness. That sense of presence is like they talk about the musk and the deer. That sense of presence is, you are the knower of that sense of presence using body form to know yourself in a real sense. Without this body, using this body as an instrument to know yourself. All your whole job and family and all this kind of stuff, these are your duties, that's fine, but that's not your, quote, purpose for being. Your purpose for being is to know yourself in a real sense, using body form. So everything, anytime anything comes to add on to that I am somebody else, you mantra, because you will not have any additional concepts added on. You will erase slowly, silently, and permanently the concepts that you're holding. You'll get to experience yourself in a real sense in body form, and then see that when something is coming, there is no need to form an I am somebody else to take care of it. It's just taken care of. You just form in the moment. A scene comes, an action is provided spontaneously in the moment, and then forgotten instantaneously, because there's no one that it can hold on to. And if there still is, then you use this idea that there's someone holding on to something to mantra and erase that idea and concept.
The question I have about spontaneity, sometimes I find myself like on a decision, what to do. I go back and forth, one to the other. It's not like a spontaneous happening. It's like, it's like looking at one thing, looking at the other thing, kind of weighing and balancing sometimes. When you speak about spontaneity, does that sort of disappear and it just simply just happens, period? Or, like, I guess the question I have is, maybe there's a infantile desire to have everything just happen and not be concerned. I don't know. But there's certain kind of responsibilities that, you mentioned that we do, like we got family, we got jobs and so forth. And, you have to kind of like deliberate and do things like that. I guess, and as you said before, this, like the closer we come to this understanding, the realization of it, there's no personality involved in it. There's no individuality involved in it, which means to say that there's no concern with the fruits of it, like Arjuna, like, I guess there's no concern with the fruits of it.
The fruits really aren't in your control. It's only a mind-created idea that they are, or that there's some kind of way that you can influence events, or that there's someone in this that needs to influence events. What you're describing is thinking. The thinking process of deliberating between this and this and this. There's an I am somebody else that needs to make a decision and is then creating this thinking process, of which other concepts come on because there will be outcomes. There will also be different areas of what is thought about. But mantra, in these instances, you will see that a decision is made cleanly and clearly without the idea or need for an I am somebody else.
But it's done without the thinking. In other words, it just, there's an intuitive insight that happens that creates the sort of like what's going to be done or whatever. Or
that's the reality right now. That's the reality right now. There's just this concept and belief that there is someone deliberating and thinking, and that there's a thinker being formed. There are thoughts. You are the power that gives thinking the ability to be an action of some sort or another, but it's not needed. Mind is sitting there trying to guess, like we said, guess 50-50 chance of this happening or that happening or this happening or that happening. That's why it's really good, flip a coin. Because if you flip a coin, number one, you're going, and I did this a while ago in flipping a coin, it's a 50-50 chance, but see, it's going to be that way anyway. It's like the universe is, or you, the selfless self, working through this universe, is doing what needs to be done. It's only the deliberation, the thinking process, because there's an I am somebody else that believes they have a stake in a specific outcome that needs to do something. Mantra through, and you will see this is not true. Decisions will be made, but they'll be made spontaneously and without an I am somebody else and without any kind of it's just like, again, the water. Decision, I'm thirsty. Okay. Drink water, put it down. All of everything is like that, spontaneously in the moment. And anytime it's not, like if I'm seriously thinking, wow, I got to really decide about this, I mantra, because there's an I am somebody else who's trying to create an experience. And once if I'm not just the you are sense, the sense of self, and I am somebody else, then of course I want to acquire money for this body. I want to acquire publicity for this body. I want to acquire sex for this body. I want to acquire status and prestige and all these sort of things for this body. I believe I need these things when I believe I'm a body. Where are all these things prior to beingness? Like Maharaj says, in that formlessness, decisions are made spontaneously in the moment because there's no decider, there's no outcome, and it just flows. Flows very nicely because there's no blockage of a you.
Well, that takes a big burden off the shoulders. I mean, I had I know what you're saying, and I feel that, but there are those times when I kind of fall into that little things during work and so forth, you know, kind of like going back and forth. And I guess I forget to do the mantra at those moments, you know, basically. But I had a big decision to make, and, you know, should I do this or do that, you know, and I just said, well, I just started the mantra with it. You know, I just said, whatever happens, happens, and just let it happen, and that was that. And it did take a lot of burden off. But, you know, like it's just doing that with every single little thing, day in and day out.
Anytime there is an I am somebody else being created through a thought, remember the mind, like a still lake. I think we talked about this last week. You're in remaining with your selfless self. This is like a still lake. So even a ripple can be detected. A thought of something begins to form, and I am somebody else starts to try to identify with that thought. Before this happens, before this ripple becomes a wave, mantra through. You'll see on the other side that this wasn't needed. And you, the selfless self that's actually seeing this, sees that it does not need these things. See, the belief is that you have to perpetuate in this body form, and therefore you have to protect and you have to do all these things. Like Nisargadatta Maharaj says, in the womb, everything is taken care of. There's no thinking. There's no I am somebody else that needs to be protected or anything. Everything is forming absolutely perfectly. It's only when you get outside and you start to have this self-consciousness that you feel that suddenly the world is on your shoulders and you need to do all this kind of stuff. And through mantra, you'll see this just is not true. And I'm not saying don't be responsible, because you'll be responsible. There's just nothing here. There's nothing back here. So all your decisions will be made in the moment, spontaneously. And whenever there's an I am somebody else mantra, and you'll see then that you'll be the witness of the decision that was made, which was already made before you decided. You don't actually believe you're making a decision until afterwards, when the action has occurred and you said this decision caused this action. It's one flow. There's no separation. And the entire world is projected on your spontaneous presence, based on the ideas and beliefs you may be holding about yourself in any given moment, is how you are creating this world. Again, world is not the forms. Forms are forms. World is the script that's written over top of explaining what the forms are doing and how you relate to them and all this kind of stuff. That's the world. The world disappears because there's no you in it. There's absolutely nothing you could desire from the world, because you'll see that the world is just your own self. And as this intuitive knowing is there, then your actions are all spontaneous actions. Nothing is being thought about. Nothing is being done. There's no worry that it might not be the right thing or whatever, because it's just everything's being projected from your spontaneous presence. If you're holding ideas or beliefs about yourself, you'll create this in your experience, which you'll call trouble or challenges. And if you then trust and have complete faith in the master that the world is not real and I myself am, then you mantra through that experience. You're creating all these situations only so that you'll have trust and faith and devotion to your selfless self. Your world becomes a two-way mirror, just a reflection of how your ideas and beliefs you may be holding. And if you're holding no ideas or beliefs about yourself, it's a clear mirror. And if you are holding ideas and beliefs about yourself, then there's a layer on the mirror that just has to be polished away using mantra.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
How long has Ramakant been teaching?
Ooh, I'm not sure. I think there are some videos that are out from like since 2012, I think. But it may be longer than that. I'm honestly not sure.
But he was, it sounds as if he was appointed by Nisargadatta to carry on the lineage, because in the book it says that Nisargadatta said that an ashram would be built here. Is that, or was that, am I maybe missing a few years? I'm just idly curious how the lineage progressed.
Well, Nisargadatta Maharaj, Ramakant Maharaj is a direct disciple of Nisargadatta Maharaj. Ranjit Maharaj sat in as the Inchigiri Navnath Sampradaya head, I guess, or master, whatever you want to call it. And then when Ranjit passed, then Ramakant Maharaj came. But Ramakant Maharaj came as a direct disciple from Nisargadatta Maharaj. Ranjit and Nisargadatta Maharaj were Guru Bandhus under Siddhameshwar Maharaj. So what about the sense that it's all good? And let me get my glasses on again here.
So an undeniable bliss is seen as riding or surfing on all appearance. It is not my own.
Yeah, well, I mean, the sense of you without any ideas or beliefs about yourself is absolute bliss, because there's nothing to disturb. You, the ideas and beliefs you're holding about yourself, disturb that peace. Think about it. If there's nothing on your mind, how can you be sad or happy? And go one level further, if there's nothing appearing on your spontaneous presence, as far as the ideas and beliefs, you're just remaining with yourself as self, absolutely formlessly, mantra whenever there's a form that begins to be created, and you see this and you just pass through. How can there be any disturbance? And if there is, it's like an ocean. Ocean on the top, there's disturbance and ripple. But the deeper you go into your selfless self, and Maharaj says this, go deep and deep and deep and deep in your selfless self through mantra. And then the disturbances are up here and you're still here. Meaning, all the disturbances which may appear around you to vie for your attention and to create an I am somebody else who may be disturbed, it's much less likely. But if for some reason you're like, oh, in the moment, it passes very, very quickly. Like Maharaj talks about the qualities of realization and the forgive and forget very quickly. It's like spontaneous forgiveness is just automatic, because you know. See, and I use this experience again at the metro. When you're getting in the metro and you believe people are pushing and maybe stepping on your toe, and even you look at the person and it looks like they're smiling about stepping on your toe and pushing you. But the reality is, it's all your own selfless self. It's just a happening. And if a mind is created, I am somebody else, that means there is also somebody else. I believe in the idea of two separate thinkers. And this thinker over here, this other form, seems to be doing something against me. But when it's one, then it's just a movement. I am part of the movement that is occurring. This body's toes have been stepped on by my own self in another form, but it's just part of the total functioning. There is no need for anything. And if a thought idea arises in mind that begins to separate, mantra through that. Because it's the truth. Again, if it wasn't the truth, if it wasn't fact, if it wasn't the true reality, it could not be discovered. And that's all we're doing, is discovering. We're getting rid of all the coverings over the reality that actually is. The isness that's covered over by the busyness. gotta go. Enjoy your evening.
Oh, John, I won't.
Yes.
I won't.
Oh no, not me. Gotta go. This was Keith Miller. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying that, but I just wanted to say that I won't be doing the meeting next week. I have to go to something that won't allow me to be here.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, it's all good.
Yeah.
Mantra wherever you are. And anytime you're not mantraing, just think of these conversations where mostly all the tape is mantra, mantra. Remain with yourself with self. Mantra. Don't allow the attention to go out. Mantra.
That's what I told Jim at the beginning. I said, you're going to hear mantra, mantra, mantra. So
Absolutely. It's the master key. It unlocks the reality. The open secret.
How can it be so simple and yet so hard?
Indeed. And you have to act as if all the ideas and beliefs that you hold about yourself are what are causing and are needing basically to be erased. You know, when you're sitting there and you're like, well, you know, I'm going to go out and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that, and this. No, mantra. Erase the disturbance of the peace. You, the disturber of the peace, need to go. Because you're a fictitious thing. That's the crazy part. You don't even, you're just like it was talked about, a boil on the butt of selfless self that needs to be removed with the mantra, 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 or the mirror that needs to be polished. Remaining with yourself and not allowing attention to go out. Having the mantra running in the background, soul all the time, that then when it comes to foreground, it's because instead of an I am somebody else being created to think, the I am somebody else is about to be formed, but then has mantra coming to the foreground. You remain with your selfless self. That's it. Something is out here, remain with your selfless self. Remain with your selfless self. And dive into that, even if that sense of presence is just like a little tiny dime, every time something comes out, you dive into that. Using mantra, dive back into your selfless self. Dive back into that sense of presence. Don't allow the attention to go out. Keep it within. Keep going. Keep diving deeper and deeper and deeper. And you will create, because you are the projector of the world. The entire experience of everything is projected from your spontaneous presence. So the more you clear and clear and clear, the mirror, the projection that you're believing will disappear. There won't be any ideas or beliefs. It'll be a clear mirror. And again, for the earlier stages of this, recognition and the projection, that sense of presence. You can go to McDonald's and look at the lady who's giving you your fries and see when you're not thinking about yourself, or you're not thinking about your little plans or ideas or designs, and you're seeing cleanly, you will recognize the recognition and the projection that myself is that form as well. That happened at the ashram, bowing to the masters, and I had to ask Maharaj, I was like, you know, because I'm bowing to the masters out of reverence and out of total devotion. But then in bowing, the eyes met the eyes in the picture, which of course images in picture and images in form, they're exactly the same. It's still the selfless self. So the recognition and the projection of bowing to the masters was felt strongly that, oh, so that I. And Maharaj said, yes, a progressive step, recognition in the projection, bowing to the masters. Still, of course, bowing with reverence and devotion, but knowing that Nisargadatta Maharaj is myself. Siddhameshwara Maharaj is myself. Ranjit Maharaj is myself. Ramakant Maharaj is myself. Separated only by body, that one selfless self, seeing itself and recognizing in the projection.
That.
So anything that disturbs the peace, instead of trying to figure out what it is or deal with it, just mantra.
Yes, remain with yourself. That's why it's there. You create this in your experience too. Do you have complete faith and trust in the master, or do you still have complete faith and trust in these ideas, beliefs, and concepts? Because everything is just created in your experience so that you can use mantra, remain with yourself, to go through it. You're creating all of this.
You can actually get arrested for disturbing the peace.
Indeed. And unfortunately, mind is much worse. You disturb the peace and believe that I am somebody else that needs to decide something. Mind gets to create, the Hollywood director behind the eyes gets to project what it's going to be like, and then pump up the emotions and get the heartbeat racing, and you're suffering. Plus, mind creates time, because I am somebody else in time, creates the sense of time. So the mind slows down time to torture you even more with the ideas and beliefs that it's presenting to you, that you're believing in, that it's using your power to project.
I like that idea that whatever brings that disturbance of peace is actually the selfless self inviting me to do the mantra, rather than to do any other thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's why Maharaj says it's ceaseless devotion to your selfless self. You, the selfless self, are using this projector to project this world and to believe these things, to see, are you going to use mantra? You, the selfless self, gave yourself this mantra to erase the ideas and concepts and beliefs. Body knowledge must go. And the mantra erases this. As long as there's body knowledge, you will not know yourself, because you'll still believe in this idea of separation, rather than using the body and knowing that you're using all these bodies. And each one may have a different idea and belief and concept about itself, projecting a world, seeing others based on the ideas and beliefs that they're holding about themselves. They're writing the script on what's going on. That's why, like, even witnesses, you know, all the different people, they witness different things. Why? Because everybody's writing their own separate script through this idea and concept of mind. So no two worlds are alike. I think Nisargadatta Maharaj says you can't plug like a USB in and I get your world. Your world is being created through the ideas and beliefs and the concepts and the conditioning that you're believing about yourself. And the whole idea is mantra erases all of that. Then we have to be the same. If you're holding no ideas about yourself and you know that you're one, and this body is holding no ideas about itself and it knows that you're one, then where is the separation and where can the conflict be? Even if you're doing something that, quote, would bother this form, it doesn't make sense. Like we talked about in the dream, if you're a dream character and your dream neighbor next door is giving you a hard time, and yet you know, as this dream character, you're dreaming, quote unquote, lucid dreaming. If this dream neighbor next door, who cares? How is that bothering you? This dream character next door seems to be disturbing you. But how? That's like Maharaj says, the barking dog. The dog barks, but it's your mind that continuously gives this barking dog and saying, oh, I can't believe this dog is barking. Oh, why doesn't it bark? Stop barking. I need to sleep. I'm going to be late for work tomorrow because I'm asleep. Because dogs bark. It's you. And selfless self, when you're using mantra, you stop believing in all the dangly things that are there to draw attention, and you keep your attention on yourself, centered, complete, without the desire to acquire anything, because how acquire fluffy clouds? A fluffy cloud named a promotion, a fluffy cloud named a car, a fluffy cloud named, stocks or whatever. They're all fluffy clouds. There's no desire being created, and all needs, all requirements came along with the body, and that one, you are, the selfless self, that was taking care of that form inside the womb through the energy and the power, creating the fingers and the eyes and all this stuff, is doing the same here and now. It's just this running commentary that bothers the beingness. And then selfless self sees this as not needed. Again, the beingness is in this theater in the row with the headset of mind, which is interpreting the flashing lights and the movement on the screen that the light is being provided for by selfless self. You. If the theater burns and these guys are gone and the screen is gone, you still are. And the only way that you know that the light, that there's something, even if the movie theater is completely black, you see those little thingies floating in the air, there's something, there's a projector, and these things are seen because otherwise it's just your one self. If there was no idea of other, there is just one self. If there's nothing other than yourself, you will not know yourself. Through body form, you get to know yourself in a real sense. Otherwise, just one continuous everything. Space doesn't know its space. Sky doesn't know its sky. Water doesn't know its water. Dirt doesn't know its dirt. And all these 5 elements are projected on your spontaneous presence. This body that you seem to identify with so much is nothing but a bunch of goo where the 5 elements combined in such a way to create a form, which then you started adding beliefs and ideas called consciousness in that form and believed that you were somehow separate and apart from. It's not true. Mantra will allow you to see that it's not true, slowly, silently, and permanently. And hopefully, yes, the tenants, as we talked about, and Maharaj talks about, the angry tenants who do not wish to vacate the premises, this is wonderful because this is a time to have complete trust and faith in the master and not in these rattling tenants. You remain with your selfless self through mantra. You are one with the mantra. And these tenants will be seen that they were a big, noisy nothing. That was just like in speaking about the experience with the Red Rocks beads. And Jim didn't know, but in India, right after I took the mantra, I took the beads off, I shaved my beard, I cut my hair, and we went to this restaurant that we'd gone to just a couple of days prior. I'd taken my beads off, I ate this chutney stuff, I got really, really violently sick. I went to Maharaj and I said, there is a mind buzzing that says that these beads were that sense of presence. They were holding that sense of presence. That I have offended that selfless self, that God, that supreme self, whatever you want to call it, by removing these beads that it used this body to create, to hold. But at the same time, in mantraing through, I can see that if that belief is held on to, then I put those beads back on, then I've succumbed to, and I am somebody else who needs something. And instead, even with the fear and the terror that the mind was starting to, and it would bubble, it would be peace and then bubbling fear and terror, and then and fear and terror, and understand that it was the spiritual journey for nothing, like it's wiped out, you're finished, you lost type thing. But instead, mantra, 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 mantra through the throwing up, mantra through the trips to the bathroom, mantra through being sick, mantra through the hospital, mantra back from the hospital. And I did not put the beads back on. So there was the idea and belief in master and mantra, not some external thing. And that experience was created to see that. Selfless self created this experience to turn up the heat to the maximum. And somehow, some way, devotion, ceaseless devotion, mantra. Up to and including the idea that in doing mantra, if this body fell because I just dehydrated too much or whatever, it would not matter. That this mantra would continue, continue, continue. And Maharaj said, you're inviting the attention of the invisible listener. How are you going to leave this body? with ideas and beliefs about I am somebody else and I am dying, or with mantra, where it's one breath in, one breath out.
You know, that really makes everything totally simple. You know, dealing with everything via the mantra, or basically whatever comes up, whatever living basically with the mantra makes it very simple.
Yeah, like Maharaj says, simple, simple, simple. All the time he says, very simple. You must have courage. Courage that when things come up, that is not the reality. That appeared upon your spontaneous presence, therefore it cannot be the reality. Mantra. Something is vying for your attention that appears to be separate from you, appearing on your spontaneous presence. Time for mantra. The entire world appears upon your spontaneous presence, and that presence that you are sensing through body form, you're the knower of that presence. Formless, like sky, like Maharaj always directs to sky or space. That's yourself, not these objects that are appearing in it. So when something is going for your attention, and it's just an object appearing in space, which is appearing in you, or appearing upon your spontaneous presence. And therefore, it doesn't require anything. It's just there. There's not an I am somebody else that desires, that moves towards it or moves away from it. Every desire creates the pain and pleasure principle. There's no need for a desire to arise because it can't be presented to someone, because there isn't an I am somebody else, because you are one with yourself, the self, through mantra. And when the body falls, you won't even know, because there's no sense of you. So it's just mantra, mantra, mantra. You're one with yourself with self. You're one with yourself with self. Mantra's running in the background, no need for the foreground. And just like from what we talked about before, the pacemaker, well, what if you would have died on the operating table when they were putting the pacemaker in? I would not know. It was just mantra, 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 mantra. This is happening. This is happening. I'm going under with mantra. One with myself, with self. No ideas, no thoughts, no concepts, no beliefs, no another dream believed in. Just mantra. No fear, because there's no one that a fear can land on. No desire, because there's no I am somebody else that a desire can be presented to. Just remaining with your selfless self. Be normal, be simple, be humble, be always with you. Maharaj says that, and that's very powerful, because except your selfless self, there's no God, no Brahman, no Atman, no Paramatman, no Master. Nothing is there. So all the things that are appearing upon your spontaneous presence, and they are nothing, because they're something appearing in the nothing, but they're passing, transient things. You are not a transient thing. The same one that goes to bed at night and wakes up in the morning, quote, disappears in that time frame. But it doesn't disappear. It's continuous. Otherwise, the sleeping and the waking couldn't be one continuous process. And you go to sleep by releasing the ideas and beliefs about the body. You know, once you're finally, when you're fading off to sleep, it's like your body consciousness, everything is just going away because you're drifting off to sleep. So you're leaving you're the holder of the body, but you're leaving the ideas and the concepts about the body behind. Then you're going into deep sleep with no ideas or beliefs about yourself. Coming through dreaming, where you're using your projection, but now in a different dream world. And then coming through on the other side, and again, first thing in the morning, the sense, I am. The spontaneous presence, the feeling that I am this formless presence. Right away then, mind creates, I am holding this body, because now I'm started to believe. But with mantra and remaining with your selfless self, there won't be a sticky back on you. You won't have to peel this identity and stick it back on. You peel it off at night, go into deep sleep, you're in complete total bliss. Then you come in the morning and you feel like you have to like get back in this skin of body and belief and zip yourself back up. Not true.
I think we almost to 9 o'clock.
Sounds good.
Yeah, like I said, I won't be able to be here next week, so I can't do the meeting. So I try not to do things on Tuesday, but something came up that I have to do. So sorry about that, but we'll continue.
No, no worries.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Thank
It was nice.
Thank you.
Very good
good.
night to all of you.
Everybody,
Very good
have
night.
a good evening.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good
come
evening.
back next week.
Much appreciated.
Okay.
And Anand,
Very good.
good luck.
Take care.
Good luck with it. Good luck with the storm, Anand. I hope it.
I hope so.
Nothing happens, yeah.
No, it's not going to be too bad. So
Yeah.
we are all prepared. Thank
Okay.
you. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay.
And you all have a great evening. Rest of the
Okay.
evening.
Good night,
Thank you.
everybody.
Bye-bye.
You too.
Okay.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Good night. Bye-bye.